Salmon, trout, and other related fish populations are seeing steep declines across much of the world. Researchers from Concordia University looked at data from more than 1,000 rivers and streams and found that those fish numbers have dropped by nearly 40% since the 80s. So joining us with more this morning is one of the report's lead researchers, James Grant. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to be here. Thank you.
It's really great to have you in amongst us and all the fish that are behind me. Listen, 40% is a really large reduction. What's happening?
Well, a lot of things. If I first could give a shout out to Kylisha Foote, the PhD student who did all this work. But, you know, it's watershed effects for stream resident trout. It's the things we do in the landscape, forestry, farming. The good news is we're doing that better today than we did in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s when we used to, farm and cut trees right to the edge of streams, which, added silt, pollution, sunlight, and warmed those waters. So we're doing a better job today, but there are legacy effects, and so all those early declines start there, as well as damming. And then for the the kind of the species that most people think about, these Pacific salmon you've on screen right now, they have a triple whammy because they migrate from freshwater to oceans and back, and so we need the terrestrial freshwater habitat to be sound. And then we need the ocean habitat, which is being affected by climate change in independent ways. And then we need the connecting big rivers to be good, which are often dammed or subject to industrial development. So it's a triple whammy for the anadromous British Columbia salmon.
We know that anything in nature does not happen in and of itself. So what are some of the ripple effects of a large population decline?
Well, I think you can see it in British Columbia, for example. The decline in salmon, the 5 species of salmon on the West Coast, affects the industry. You're showing pictures of that commercial fishery. Although some fisheries are doing well, on average, not doing so well. On the East Coast, the Atlantic salmon has been in decline for a long time. We no longer fish them. And even the sport fishing industries primarily catch and release because the numbers are so low. So huge economic costs we're paying. But even more so, I think it's the, think about indigenous peoples on the West Coast who built their cultures around Pacific salmon, indigenous people across the country who have close relationships to these fish, brook trout, Arctic char, lake trout, and the settler communities who enjoy fishing. It's one of the top hobbies for all Canadians. And it's both, it generates money for our economy and makes us, feel better about the world. These fish are also great indicators of ecosystem health. I think of when I lived in Newfoundland, the streams in downtown St. John's had these vibrant brown trout populations. Yeah. I think they're not so good today, but that was an indicator that those streams in the middle of that city were in good shape.
When we take a look at farmed salmon population, there's actually been something different. We've seen significant growth. In 2021, more than 2.8 million tons of farmed salmon were produced. When you compare that to just over 700,000 tons of wild salmon that was caught. So could the salmon that we farm help offset some of the losses that we're seeing in the wild?
Well, only from a consumer's point of view.
Sure.
From an ecological point of view, those farms on the West Coast in particular are having a negative effect on the wild salmon. So there's a huge trade-off. Sea lice, pollution of the ocean floor, competition when they escape from those farm pens, which they will. So it's not a trade-off anyone wants to make. Sure, we need cheap, high-quality food, and salmon is one of those foods. However, I think most people say the most sustainable fish are those wild fish. I think the aquaculture fish, it would be better if we could move them on land and get away from that interaction with our wild salmon.
Professor of Biology at Concordia University, James Grant, thanks for joining us here in your morning. Liked our conversation.
Thank you.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.